Welcome to the One Verse Devotional Podcast. My name is Matt McCarrick, and my goal is to help you grow closer to God through one verse every day. Now let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to the One Verse Devotional Podcast. I'm glad to be with you here today. Actually, I have been under the weather the last few days, but I'm getting back into the groove today. Fortunately, I was well enough to do the last couple of days, one verses, but it's good to be back. I'm glad to be feeling better, and we have a great one verse today, short one verse out of a very well-known passage of Scripture, really a well-known chapter of Scripture, one of the most well-known because it's in so many weddings. You might have already figured out then that we are in 1 Corinthians chapter 13. And we're going to read the last verse of this chapter, and it ends like this. Our one verse today comes out of 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 13, and it says, "And now these three remain, faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love." You know, normally when we read 1 Corinthians 13, as I said a second ago, it's because we're at a wedding. And it does make a great wedding passage. However, this chapter of the Bible reaches a lot deeper than just something to recite at a ceremony. It gives us the literal definition of God's perfect love, the kind of love that only He can provide. I mean, the love that's talked about in 1 Corinthians 13 is really the ultimate goal that we have in loving others. Now, it's a lofty goal, but I believe it is the goal. I mean, that is what 1 Corinthians 13 is all about. It's beautiful in weddings, but it's so much more than that. And sometimes I feel like we brush over this chapter because we do kind of just pigeonhole it into that, like, oh, well, that's a nice, wedding poem. That's a nice passage to read at a ceremony. And it's like, no. This chapter, especially if you're going to live a love first lifestyle that we talk about all the time, if we're going to live as true light bearers, that we're going to be the light and love that is shown to this world that Jesus has given us, and we reflect to others. If that's going to be our focus in life, and I hope that it is, 1 Corinthians 13 is critical in understanding how we're supposed to live. And the chapter ends by giving us the three, what I would say, most powerful forces in the universe are faith, hope, and love. And he says, but the greatest of these is love. And so I think the takeaway for today is just asking ourselves, how much faith do we have? How much hope do we have? And how much love do we have in our lives? See, I think we can evaluate and say, hey, is there one of these areas where we're lacking? Hey, I have a lot of faith. I'm diving in every day. I'm reading my Bible. I'm praying. I'm spending time with God. That's awesome. How you doing in the love department? Are you then reflecting that love to others? No, Matt, you know what? I'm really kind of just keeping it to myself. All right. Well, then that's an area we need to work on, right? Or maybe you're like, hey, I'm growing closer to God. I'm really trying to grow my faith. And man, I really do care for others, but life's been a little bit rough lately, and I don't have a lot of hope for the future. I don't really see this hope in Jesus that I know that I'm supposed to have. And that's a hard one to get at times. But again, like we learn over and over again, many times the answer is the closer we get to Jesus, the more He uncovers those things. And so I would say today that we kind of take stock of our lives in these three areas, because these three areas cover so many things. He says, these three remain, like above all else. There's faith, there's hope, and there's love. And the greatest of these is love, but they're all critical. And so I'm even going to spend some time today in prayer, just because I like to be transparent with you guys. If I had to pick one right now, I'd probably say hope. The last few years have not exactly looked like the way that we, being myself and my wife, thought that they would look. Our relationship is good, but kind of where God has brought us to and taken us through. And when we look at, our goals for the future and everything from maybe some, career type stuff to, even, where we live, we have these dreams, but I don't know that I have a lot of hope right now to believe, okay, God, you got something better. You're going to come through. You have something better for us in the future. So that's an area where I really need to give that to God. I just wanted to kind of lead the way and be a little transparent and let you know that I'm not perfect. I don't say that we need to work on these 3 areas because I have it all figured out. No, I just wanted to share with you, that's an area where I struggle with. So find some time today and really think about faith, hope, and love. Are you excelling in these areas, or is there one of those that maybe you need to focus on a little bit more? Because these are really the 3 most powerful forces in the universe. Faith, hope, and love. And of course, the greatest of these is love. Have a great day.